All right. Hey, folks, it's Faz from Fazlifts. Today, we're going to talk about meal prep. And this has been a game changer for me. And the term game changer is thrown around a lot, but this really is revolutionary for being able to stick to diet, make good, healthy food choices. So I want to just share with you some of the things that I currently employ when I'm doing my food prep, because I've had this conversation a few times this last week with clients who've been asking about simple ways to food prep. So shout out to Sarah and Santi if you're listening, who'll know about this. So yeah, let's talk about food prep. How do we do it to make it as easy, convenient, cheap, and nutritious as possible? Because that's what we're after. We're all busy, okay? And for our standard meals, we don't want to be spending loads and loads of money. So how do we do it? How do we eat well, but relatively cheaply and also nutritiously, so that we can go out and splurge every once in a while and go to our favorite restaurant, which is personally what I like to do. So I like to keep my meals on a day-to-day basis fairly basic, but I like to eat out a lot. So that's my thing. So let's talk about how to make meal prep easy. So firstly, I'm going to go over some slides here. Now, the biggest change I made over recent years is that I no longer prep individual meals at all. So some of you might know my background. For those of you who don't, I am an ex-competitive powerlifter, strongman, and more recently bodybuilder. So during my time as a powerlifter and strongman, I never really paid that much attention to diet. And this was partially the sport and just trying to eat as much as possible. I used to weigh a lot more, like 100 kilos, and I carried a lot more chub on me and maybe a bit more muscle. So anyway, I would just eat whatever, right? And this stemmed from me as a child, where I was very overweight. So nothing really changed when I became a strength athlete. Now, in more recent years, I've been more into bodybuilding, and actually I've reduced my body weight quite a lot, and I maintain my body weight really nicely. So one of the big advantages of eating this way is I'm able to maintain a body weight some 15 to 20 kilos lighter than I've been most of my life. And even when I was a kid, when I was 15 years old. So I feel way better these days, feel lighter on my feet, more agile, all that kind of stuff. But part of that, and a large part of that, is how I'm able to prep my food now and just make life simple for me. Because for me, being a natural fat boy, like, how do I prep my meals so they're tasty and also they're convenient? So first change is I no longer individually prep meals. So when I first got into bodybuilding, I went online, like most people do, and I looked at meal prep. And pretty much everything I saw was individual meals. So people were prepping the next 3 to 7 days. That's kind of what you hear. So I thought, okay, I guess this is what bodybuilders do. And it was an advantage. It was better than what I was doing previously, which was just prepping meal by meal, just having what I liked, really. So it was a good start, but I want to talk to you today about what I'm doing better. But anyway, before we go on to that, let's look at some benefits of individually prepped meals, because there are some benefits. Like if you're not doing any kind of prep right now, then sure, prepping the next 3 to 7 days is probably going to be a net benefit. And there are some advantages. People might want to stick to doing individually prepped meals. So some people enjoy the completeness of an individually prepped meal. So they like looking in their fridge. Psychologically, they've got the next 3 days of all their meals set up, all individually wrapped and all perfect. It's kind of like being your own meal prep company. You're making your own meal prep. So for them, it's a boost to see the fridge full of meals they're eating for the next 3 days, And for people who both love to eat, like me, and for those who forget to eat, you're all locked into a predetermined meal schedule. So it's all planned out. You just have to eat your meals. And again, psychologically, it's quite good because it keeps you on track, either from eating too much or from eating too little. If the meals are there and you look at your fridge and you go, okay, I've got 4 boxes there and I've got to eat those for the course of the day, that's your lot. And typically speaking, it's quite a nice way of organizing your meals. Like if you're not very good with your appetite, then at least you'll get the meals in. Now, if your appetite is very big like mine, then it restricts you. And we've seen this in studies. If people are given definite boundaries, they tend to stick to them better, in a sense. So there are some benefits of individually prepped meals. So I don't want to throw that out completely, but I think what I do now is a little better. So going into that, now I batch prep. Nowadays, my preference is to batch cook. So firstly, what is batch cooking? So no longer do I cook individually prep meals 3 to 7 days in advance. What I do now is I cook the food items in bulk. So some of my preferences are chicken breast. I'll cook that in bulk. And I will no longer cook 3 to 7 days worth. I might cook as many as 4 weeks worth. So 4 weeks of chicken breast, wham. All at once, I'm cooking them. Maybe 4 weeks of mashed potatoes, I'm cooking those. Rice, also fish. These are all examples of things that I personally like. So I'm buying in bulk. I'm buying the ingredients in bulk. I'm buying the seasonings in bulk. I'm cooking in bulk. Okay, so some advantages of this. Firstly, it's cheaper. Now, anytime you buy in bulk, you can typically save some money. So typically you're buying 3 to 4 weeks, or even in some cases 3 to 4 months of stuff at once. So I bought 10 kilos of sushi rice, which is my personal favorite. I love it. It's great. You know, the sticky rice. It's great. I bought 10 kilos of sushi rice from Amazon for £10. Now, I bought that about 3 months ago. It's still going. So £10 for 3 months of carbs. I mean, it's just great. So that's a big advantage right there. No longer am I buying small bags of rice. I don't even have them in the house. Or I might be buying kilos upon kilos upon kilos of dry chickpeas, kidney beans, black beans, lentils. And if you're buying them dry, that's a lot for your money. So I get those ordered in, and that's more like 3 to 4 months worth of lentils, legumes, and beans. So I buy all those. Now, I don't cook them all at once, but I'll cook them in large batches, maybe a kilo. Just recently I cooked a kilo of dry chickpeas, which actually netted me about triple the amount altogether. Once you put them in water, you soak them, they expand. So yeah, a kilo gave me 3 kilos worth of chickpeas, which was incredible. I mean, it was like 24 portions. I made that all in one afternoon. It was dead easy. So great. I mean, great stuff. So the first thing is, it's cheaper. You buy in bulk, typically you're going to save money. You're not buying these itty bitty small packs of things. We're not interested in that. We're buying big. Okay. We're prepping big. We're buying big. And that is ingredients and also seasonings too. So I buy these really big batches of powder. So like Mediterranean seasoning, tikka masala seasoning, Caribbean seasoning, all on Amazon. And people sell these for dirt cheap. They're like a kilo bag of your favorite spice blends. I think I got the last one I got for £10. It's so good value. It's great. Just incredible. So buy all that really big. Buy it big, buy cheap. Now the next thing is it saves you time, which is just as, if not more valuable than saving you money. So it saves you time. You're prepping large amounts of the same food at the same time. So I might prep 5 kilos of chicken. Now, typically speaking, if I'm prepping 5 kilos of chicken, that's only going to take me a couple hours. So I can do it either while I'm working at the desk, pop in and out of the kitchen. For those of you who don't work from home, you can also do it on the weekend, just while you're running some errands or you're playing some video games, you know, whatever you like to do. And yeah, I mean, I can prep literally 3 to 4 weeks of chicken breast in a couple of hours one Sunday afternoon. It's way better. And finally, it offers flexibility. So if you have prepped meals which are ready to go 3 to 7 days in advance, they're locked in. Now, as I mentioned, that's an advantage, but also it can be a disadvantage because you can't make changes on the fly. Whereas with this, I'm putting meals together on a daily basis. Now, for some of you guys who go to a 9 to 5 and go out to work, just prep them the night before or prep them in the morning when you wake up. And all you do is you take the chicken out of the freezer the night before, then it's defrosted, it's in the fridge, you dump it in, you weigh it, put it into your Tupperware container, weigh out your potatoes, put them in, weigh out your veg, put them in. There you go. You got a meal. Easy. So you can pick a protein source, pick a carb source, possibly pick some vegetables in there as well. Probably a good idea, especially if you're trying to lose weight or maintain weight. There you go. You've got a meal. So you're just putting stuff together from all the things you've batch prepped. And I'll go over the specifics of what I batch prep in a moment. So it offers flexibility. You can put together whatever combination of macros you like every single day. And if you're not tracking macros, fine. Just put together a protein source, a vegetable source, a carb source, and go. Okay, great, easy. So batch prepping, that's what it is. And those are some of the advantages. Saves you money, saves you time, and gives you flexibility. Now here, I want to just give a special mention for fruits and vegetables. So the secret to cooking veggies is this. Don't. So don't, right? When you buy frozen vegetables, they're already pre-ready. They're pre-cooked. All you need to do is microwave them. That's it. So what I used to do when I first got into meal prepping, I would cook my vegetables twice. And I didn't realize I was doing it really. So I would, let's say I was cooking garden peas. So I would take 3 kilos of garden peas. I would put them in a pan, 1 kilo after another, and I would spend an hour cooking them, all that stuff, right? And only to then dump them in the individually meal prep containers. And then when they was ready to eat them, I would have to microwave them so they'd be cooked for the second time. So after a while, I thought to myself, this is crazy. I'm basically cooking these twice and I'm wasting time. So the secret to cooking vegetables is don't. You don't need to. Just weigh them out directly onto your plate or your Tupperware container and microwave them with the rest of your food. Easy. So yeah, just don't cook them twice. You don't need to. So all I do is I buy bulk, kilo bags of frozen vegetables from my favorite supermarket. I normally get them from Iceland. We have an Iceland in the UK, which is a supermarket which specializes in frozen food. So you get kilo bags for about £1. So I buy sweet corn, garden peas, squash, carrots, all the stuff that I currently like. And yeah, I don't do anything. What I do is I open the bag, weigh out what I need, and it gets microwaved alongside my potatoes, my rice, my chicken, whatever else I'm having. So it saves you a lot of time when you're prepping. And then when it comes to fruit, you just defrost it and eat it. I mean, I literally ate 500 grams of mango just now. All I did with that was sliced open the bag, dumped it onto the plate, waited a couple of hours for it to defrost, and off I go. Easy. Saves you time, right? So yeah, it's a cheat code. It's great. So here's what you'll need. Now, because for some of you, this might be doable. For others, it might not. You might have to get a couple of things. And I made a little reel about this recently, that the best bodybuilding supplement is a chest freezer, which is slightly tongue-in-cheek. But honestly, if you're going to spend money on anything, spend money on a chest freezer. It's the best bodybuilding companion there is. So you'll need storage space because obviously you're going to prep 3 weeks in advance. That can't stay in the fridge. So a chest freezer, the one that I bought, set me back 150 quid. Dirt cheap. All you really need that you might struggle with is space in the house. So I've got mine in my office and it just has all my frozen food in there. Great. Fantastic. So you'll need that and you'll need a reliable food scale. Now, the food scale is not for when you cook because you get a 5 kilo bag of chicken, it all gets cooked. So you're not weighing anything out when you cook. You're weighing it out when you serve it. So whether that's for your meal on the day, if you work from home, or if it's a prep for going out to the office. So the food scale is there to weigh out things on the day or the day before. And you also need to begin to track things as cooked weight rather than raw or uncooked, because again, there's no weighing when you cook. If you've got a 5 kilo bag of chicken, cook it all. Dump it all into boxes, put it in the chest freezer. When you take it out, that's when you'll weigh it out, and you'll weigh it out as cooked weight. And people might argue about that, but as long as you're consistent, it doesn't really matter. So cook it up, store it. As you're serving it up, that's when you weigh it if you want to weigh it. If you're not currently tracking your intake, which is fine as well, then that's fine. Just put out a portion. Okay, so that's what you're going to need to make this work. You'll need freezer space, essentially. But here are some typical items that I buy in bulk. So if you want to get started on this today, here are some of the typical food items that I buy. This is what I'm currently going through. So don't feel like you're restricted to just this. This is a combination of what I currently like to eat based on my preferences, what I want from my diet, but also the fact that I might be sick of eating beef right now, so I'm eating chicken and fish, you know? So don't think this list is exhaustive. This is what I'm currently doing. Like, this is currently in my freezer right now, right? So chicken breast, 5 kilo worth is what I typically buy because I can get a good deal for 5 kilos of chicken. I've never seen anywhere which offers 10 kilos of chicken, so 5 kilos is fine. It's good enough. It lasts me about 4 weeks, which is fine. I also, at the same time, I buy about 5 kilos of white fish, which again will last me for about 3 or 4 weeks. I will also buy 10 kilos of potatoes. Again, that's going to last me about 3 or 4 weeks. And I will typically buy 3 kilos each of legumes, lentils, beans. Now, that varies somewhat. So sometimes I'll have my favorites. So currently right now, I'm really digging kidney beans, black beans, and chickpeas, and I'm not digging the lentils quite as much. But over time, I rotate through everything. Last time I ordered green lentils, red lentils, and I cooked up some nice sort of soups with that. So I typically buy about 3 kilos each. And then it goes to the frozen fruit and vegetables. My current favorites are squash, sweet corn, and peas for vegetables. And my current favorite fruits include mango, berries, papaya, and pineapple. Just this morning, I got a delivery of, it was about 6 kilos of mango, all frozen, all prepared, all chopped up, everything ready to eat. Lovely, delicious. And I'll do the same with blueberries, papaya, pineapple, about 6 kilos of each, which I'll just dump into the freezer, and that's what I like to eat. So that's kind of, if you want to get started, that's currently where I am. So some concluding thoughts. Now, I'm a firm believer that your basic day-to-day meal prep should be cheap, easy to prepare, tasty, and nutritious. Now, cheap because maybe it's just me being frugal, but like a typical meal on a Wednesday afternoon or like a Tuesday morning, I don't need that to be an absolute banger. I think it should be, cheap, but nutritious. So that means I save money for going out, doing stuff like that I like to do, where I can spoil myself a little bit. But my general day-to-day meals, I don't like to have them too fancy. Firstly, it's for a price perspective, but also coming from being a fat boy, for most of my life, I don't think it's wise to try and make every meal this sort of extravaganza of taste. I've actually found that to be counterproductive, and I found it to be more productive from a adherence standpoint, where I have meals which are basic, because over time I learn to love those meals. So over time, my tastes get more basic. So I no longer need to have this huge variety of tastes, which inevitably come with a lot of calories. I now have much more simple tastes. I'm much more satisfied, and I find natural things like fruits, vegetables, simple meats, which are untethered to lots and lots of heavy sauces. I find that nice. So it's psychologically, it's good too. So yeah, cheap, easy to prepare, tasty and nutritious. That's what I feel the majority of meal prep should be. Not only from a cost point of view, but also from the viewpoint of long-term success. Not every meal needs to be a banger. And really, this was one of the biggest lessons that I learned from staying lean so long, was that every meal doesn't have to be amazing, because every time you have these amazing meals, you're lighting up those dopamine sensors for attractive food. You don't need to do that every single time you eat. The majority of meals should be basic. And then you will learn to love those basic meals. The analogy I always give to my clients is, this is a bit of a weird analogy, but it's like sex, right? You guys have heard of the whole no fap, no porn, all that stuff, right? Now, if all you ever do is just watch freakier and freakier porn, you're going to make the actual act of sex far more desensitized, And so it's like that with food. If you're constantly having the porn equivalent of really, really extravagant, like filthy food/sex sessions, then when it comes to adhering to just a normal diet of healthy, nutritious food, it's going to seem a lot less attractive. Like if you're watching God knows what type of porn, then just having regular, loving, wholesome sex with your partner is probably going to be just slightly less appealing, if not way less appealing. So you have to moderate that. You have to moderate what you put in, so it affects what you will enjoy. And I'm a firm believer of that. So you have to moderate yourself. Do, as is the popular phrase, do it for the difficult. So your regular meals should be just straight laced for the most part, so that every now and again you can have something fancy and actually enjoy it. But you don't want to have the fancy stuff every single day, because it's not conducive to being healthy and lean. Okay, so most meals should be functional primarily. You will learn to love those meals, and you will learn to love the taste of good foods the more you eat them. And I think that's a very powerful message. It's one that I think needs to be said, but it's probably a whole video in itself. But so we won't cover that too much more today. But hopefully you found that useful. This was more of a practical video because, as I say, I had a couple of clients ask me about this last week, just in terms of how to set up prep. And I believe this is the simplest way to set up prep. Batch cook everything, store it, portion it out on a daily basis, have what you need, but cook on a long-term basis. All right, guys. Hopefully that was helpful. It's what I do, and I'll speak to you guys in the next one. Take care.